Good morning, everybody. Jim Feist and Hank Goldberg in Las Vegas. A little overcast, maybe some rain today. We don't know, but it's cold. And yesterday was, for me, a cold day in the NFL. Didn't get much right. It was pretty awful. But I guess the bookmakers are probably happy. A lot of underdogs covered.
Thank goodness for basketball.
Yes.
I had a very good basketball day yesterday.
Well, that's good. That's real good. Wow. Well, we got a football game tonight. It's a NFC Eastern Division game, important game between Washington and Philadelphia. Neither team is, all that solid. They both have flaws, and they've not had great seasons. You got a backup quarterback with Washington, and Philadelphia has a number of injuries. So does Washington. A lot of controversy. The big news, of course, is McCarthy getting fired, Keenan Allen getting released, and there's a lot of off the field stuff that we have to deal with going forward. Some surprises. Pittsburgh took a big lead last night and then coughed it up in the second half. The Colts went down to Jacksonville. Andrew Luck against, a backup quarterback, and they get shut out 6-0, which is kind of really rare for the NFL. Baker Mayfield is back to being Baker Mayfield, the rookie, and Houston showed him up pretty well. Aaron Rodgers looked terrible, and Arizona goes up from a warm weather city up to a cold and rainy and snowy Green Bay, the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field, and they win the game. McCarthy gets fired immediately after. A lot of stuff going on out there.
Well, let's start with tonight's game. Washington gets Chris Thompson back, and I think that'll help them a lot. Then additionally, you've got Philadelphia with all four cornerbacks down, and they've also got one of their top linebackers hurting, and they just got so many guys hurting, and their quarterback's not playing well. So those should be factors to look at in tonight's game. I think the biggest shock to me yesterday of all the things you just went over was Andrew Luck's poor performance against Jacksonville, whose defense finally played a game. But Indianapolis just did nothing. And once again, their coach insisted on trying to apply their running game and on first downs. And they were always looking at third and tough and played right into Jacksonville's defensive hands. I think to get shut out after you had been averaging 3 touchdown passes a game for something like 7 or 8 straight games against Jacksonville, I don't understand that. Just don't. The situation with Houston, the Houston game didn't surprise me any. I said the one thing I had right was he was going to meet his maker this weekend, and he did. But outside of that, I don't understand Pittsburgh in the second half. Fat Face is 2 different quarterbacks. He's the first half quarterback and the second half quarterback. Maybe he's just getting old and he can't play 60 minutes anymore. But I don't know who we can blame this week. His receivers were having a big game in the first half, and in the second half, it seems like every time they had a big running game, he got caught for holding. Every time that guy had a big play, they were holding. Their offensive line was injury prone yesterday, and I'll say this about Phillip Rivers: he played a flawless game. In the second half, they were running the ball without Gordon, and Pittsburgh's defense just collapsed in the second half. and basically it was the running game that beat them.
Yeah, we've talked about the Chargers being a very good team and somebody you can't sleep on this year, and they really showed up yesterday. We've always said, we've repeated it many times, that Phillip Rivers doesn't show up in the primetime games. Well, we got to take that back because he did. And
yeah, and and if you look at their record this year, they had lost to every good team they played. And, they had lost to the 3 good teams they had played this year. And they come into Pittsburgh in not ideal conditions. And first half, they got destroyed. And in the second half, they showed up. And to me, the difference in the game was how well they ran the ball.
They really did. I'm going to go back to the difference in the game is very poor defensive play calling by Pittsburgh. I mean, they were playing. You can't cover Keenan Allen the way they were covering. I mean, he was wide open, 14 catches. I mean, at some point in time, you got to realize the guy's killing you, and you got to make adjustments. I mean. And I can't put that on Tomlin's head. They have a defensive coordinator that has to do the job. I mean, the head coach doesn't do everything. Well, unless he is also, but they have a defensive coordinator that's supposed to make those adjustments on the fly, and they did not at all. And I mean, when you have a 20 to I don't know what the score was, 20-3, 20.
It was 26-3.
Wow. And they gave up, 23 straight points in the game? I mean,
Yep.
That's ridiculous. At home, prime
They
time.
lost the second half 26-7.
Wow. That's pretty sad. But
At home.
anyway, the Chargers are for real. And now that, you got to look at this Charger team in the AFC is, they're the real deal. Yeah, we've been talking about Kansas City all year, but now I don't know what this. It's not going to.
Their defense played a bad game. They gave up almost 500 yards in offense to the Raiders yesterday. They scored 40 points and couldn't cover. The number was high. They won by 10 points, but their defense was awful. They couldn't stop the Raiders at all. And they had gotten a couple of defenders healthy. That's a concern going forward for them. And the team that looked good yesterday was New England. They shut down Minnesota pretty good. And, it's that time of year for New England. And they're healthy. They got a couple of guys back, including Michelle, who ran the ball very well. And that quarterback for Minnesota, I don't think he's up to carrying that team anywhere. Then again, another shocking game was the Bears getting beat by the Giants.
Going into the Philadelphia game, a lot of us, I don't know if you were among them, but the Giants had seemed to turn it around. And in the first half of that game, they had a 16-point lead at halftime against Philadelphia and then coughed it up in the second half. And I don't know. I mean, if you look back over the last 4 games, the Giants have not played terribly except for that half, the second half against Philadelphia, and that blew them out of the ballpark for the season for sure. But the Bears went into New York with the backup quarterback, and Daniels did not play exceptionally well, that's for sure. But the Giants were able to do the right things at the right time and get that win. It's kind of surprising, but there were a lot of surprises yesterday. We talked about the Colts.
Well, I'll say this: the Giants almost blew that game yesterday too. Daniels brought the Bears back in the second half, put the game into overtime.
Yeah, that's true. They did. They did. A lot of surprises yesterday. Baltimore went on the road, rookie quarterback. Went to Atlanta, Atlanta is, I hate to say it, Atlanta's a shit show. I mean, we all talked about them being not so good on the road and better at home, but they're not even good at home anymore. It looks like...
And I'll tell you something about Baltimore. They're only half a game behind Pittsburgh right now.
And that's after what? Winning now 4 straight games and Pittsburgh losing 2 out of the last 3?
Yeah, and Baltimore's not in bad position right now. And he's got a decision to make with the Flacco getting healthy at quarterback. And Jackson playing very well. And then there's the collapse of Carolina, who's lost 4 straight games. And going into Tampa and getting beat there. And Carolina, I think, and now the owner is very upset with them, and there could be a coaching problem there. Joe Philbin is now the coach at Green Bay temporarily. I was in Miami covering the Dolphins when he was the Dolphins coach, and those were bad years in Miami. That's when they had all the disciplinary problems, and Philbin didn't know what was going on in his own locker room. And now he's a very nice man, but that's a temporary deal in Green Bay. And you got to wonder right now about the future with the quarterback there. Paying him a lot of money, and he's not playing very well.
He's playing terrible, and they pay him a lot of money. And one of the things that I heard another podcast talking about is there are a few quarterbacks in the NFL that make a lot of money, but they give some back to the team to help build some support around the team with defensive players and offensive linemen. So they don't take the full amount that they're capable of getting. And as a result, those teams are doing fairly well. And 2 of those guys are Breeze and Brady. Other quarterbacks take the full amount, and they're not doing very well. And then a lot of your rookie quarterbacks on the rookie pay scale that are helping their teams win because they have a lot of support at the other positions. It makes a lot of sense when you're paying a guy $700,000 a year and you're paying another guy $33 million. There's only so much cap room to go around to pay offensive linemen, defensive players, etc. So that is a problem. And Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if he's the problem in Green Bay or if it was McCarthy or a combination of both. I have no idea. But there's talk about that.
Well, McCarthy, I think, was a problem there. But he's a hot item now because there's going to be 6 or 7 coaching openings, and he's going to be the hottest guy in the open market. So apparently a lot of people have respect for him. And he's going to get hired someplace.
Most likely. It's going to be hard to fill all these coaching positions if all these teams that are talking about needing coaches, that are being talked about that will need coaches, it's going to be hard to find all these guys unless you really start digging down into the college levels or, to look for some new innovative play calling and coaching. So it's interesting. But like you said in the beginning, thank God for college basketball because that's going well. I've hit 7 out of my last 10 plays, and I know you've been red hot. And we're off to a big week of that too. So it's going to be good. We got four more weeks going for the I don't know, it's 4 or 5 more weeks in the NFL before the playoffs. We've got the matchups now in college football for the playoffs. The 4 teams are in. It looks like Alabama's about a 14-point favorite over Oklahoma, and Clemson's about 11 over Notre Dame. We'll have to watch those line moves between now and January 1st. So there's a lot of excitement going on in the next 3-4 weeks, and I'm excited about it, and I know you are as well, Hank. We got all of our plays up at jimfeist.com, and Hank, if you have anything else you want to contribute before we close off.
With the exception of Pittsburgh, who has really fallen into kind of a slump. If you look at the traditional teams right now, the New England, I think, you got to look at New Orleans, but the Rams came through big yesterday with the reality that they just have to keep winning this to keep that home field advantage over New Orleans. But the traditional teams are the ones that have been in the situation before, and they seem to be rising to the occasion again. And Pittsburgh, to me, is an exception. Even Denver is winning right now. Seattle is winning right now. These are teams with experience, and as you go into the last quarter of the season, these are probably teams to keep an eye on.
Well, you're right. The separation of the pretenders from the contenders, there's no question. We're starting to see that. And yesterday, by the way, we will mention this, there were a lot of games that were under the total. The defenses started to stand up. The offenses were a little bit more controlled or even conservative. And we did start to see a little bit of an undertrend, and the high-flying offenses were slowed down a little bit. So we have to watch that going forward.
I'll tell you, watching Pittsburgh, if you had them yesterday, was frustrating. I took Pittsburgh at home because they were 6-0 at home this year, and I thought that the Chargers, who had not won against the higher regarded teams in the league, going on the road, I just thought that this was a situation where without Gordon, they were going to have a problem offensively, and but their defense came in the second half and really caused problems for Fat Face, and he's just been turning. He was the one who had the turnover in the game, not Phillip Rivers, and this is the third game in a row where Fat Face has thrown picks, and he could have had more. And incidentally, when you had the one play in the end zone where they were ahead by 2 scores, and and Rivers threw what should have been an interception, and the defensive back for Pittsburgh had the pick in his hand, and his own man bumped into him and knocked the ball loose, and that's where they got their interception.
Yeah, Chargers played a little bit of luck in a little bit of luck yesterday, and that over the years.
How about they scored on a long touchdown pass when the guy was clearly had left early, and it should have been called back, and the officials never called that play. That play should have never been.
You're absolutely right. They got 2 touchdowns yesterday that were on the lucky side. They played well, but they had 2 very lucky 2 touchdowns in that game, which made a huge difference. But I was not satisfied with the way Pittsburgh played, especially being pretty much shut out in the second half. But anyway, Hank, I'm going to close this off for today. Thank you for your time. Hank's plays and mine are at jimfeist.com. Join us again on Wednesday. We'll be back with more of an update on everything in the betting world of sports. Thanks, Hank.
Okay, we can talk Wednesday about who was left out, Ohio State. And I think the team that I feel sorry for is Central Florida. They came back with a big win, and when they had to, with their quarterback out, they're undefeated, and I think you can make a case for an 18 playoff rather than a 14 playoff. They got a legitimate price. So we can talk more about that on Wednesday.
I agree. Thank you, Hank. Appreciate it.
Okay, Jim. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.